Well, we are gathered here today for a story and a little time. And yesterday we talked about, not yesterday, but last time. Last time we talked about the power system. Now, one thing I didn't clarify for last time was the absorption of powers from other Vancers. The Vancer themselves have to be dispatched. They can't be alive and absorb their power. Right, so they have to be fully consumed or absorbed, life and all. That's if to gain power, that's what has to be done. The only thing that's absorbed from them is like stamina, mana, or life, right? That life part is pretty much the tug of war. That's the tug of war portion of the absorption. But to fully gain their powers and stuff like that, they have to be fully consumed. The other one has to win. Alright. Now, today, what I wanted to talk about was the pretty much the life forms. So the Vancers, the humanoid species, is gonna have a Vancer, a Satch, and a Queen. Those are the three. Those are about the three that there are. Now, we will talk about them in a minute. First, we're going to talk about a few of the other life forms that will be encountered. The primarily dominant one that's going to be is going to be the humanoids. Now, one of the ones that we'll encounter early on in the story time itself is going to be a vine spider, or a root spider, I should say. Root spiders are venomous, they are big, their legs are sharp. They're comprised of crystal. They're deep underground. It depends on their environment. When they're deep underground, they're going to be earthy, metally, crystally, more mineral based, right? With roots. If they're in the mountains, above ground, they'll be more just rocky rather than metally or crystally and stuff like that. The ones in the forest will be smaller than the ones underground and the mountains. All of these are going to be venomous, of course. They have two they kind of look like spiders, of course, because they're spiders. But what I'm getting at is not their fangs, but they have two legs to the side of that they can extend. The material that it's made of, crystal, it will grow, metal, it will grow, or earth, it will grow. They will shape it to be bigger, smaller, larger, or that's pretty much their weapon. That is their species weapon. Now, there's not too many life forms to speak of other than the humanoids that vary quite much. There are bears. Bears are they're big. They're not underground. They're usually found in the forest, so they're bark bears. There's some in the mountains, but not too many. Now, horses. Horses are gonna, of course, be steeds, but of course, the noblest of steeds. They don't have. There's not too much unique about the horses. They're kind of just a passive creature. They kind of just graze. They're primarily found in the plains. Wolves are also found in the forest. I guess let's start with the biomes that they'll be found in. Horses, plains, bears, wolves will be in the forests. What else? Oddly enough, I didn't think of any any felines, and I'm a cat guy, right? But in the story, I did not picture any felines, which is kind of funny. Then again, I didn't put too much thought in the other life that would be on Prothor. I primarily just focused on the humanoids. Truly. I guess let's go ahead and just come up with some. So, bears, horses, wolves, spiders. If you guys have any ideas for some creatures for me to add, let me know. Today I'm gonna actually add rather than just tell you what I already have. Today I'm gonna add. So, spiders. Oh, more creepy crawlies to belong in the caves down below. We can add centipedes. Centipedes are horrid things, aren't they all? Of course, they will be venomous. They'll be more rooty, and not as much earthy. They'll be more the plant-based, so they can burrow better. Right? I think that'd be good. Maybe the tips of their legs would have the harder substance. They'll primarily be found in the caves, in the mountains, rarely in the mountains. But they'll be smaller above ground, bigger underground. Same thing with the root spiders. What else? What else? So we can't do flying creatures. I guess we could do swimming creatures, though. Sharks. I have a hard time picturing plant fish. It's probably why I didn't add any, really. Yeah. That's why I probably didn't add any, because I can't think of any. So before we start adding, let's go ahead and I should probably open up a note before I start adding things. Where's a notepad? Note. All right, there's that. All right, so Vancers. We've already talked about Vancers to an extent with the power system, because that's what they're there for. They are born to fight. That is what they are for. They're pretty much the guardians of their tribes. Now, for a Vancer, for every 3,000. No, I feel like that's too much. Let's just say 1,000. So every 1,000 sachets, a Vancer would be born. So under the guard of one Vancer, there is one queen and 1,000 sachets. Think about this as a kind of like an ant colony. That's what I mainly pictured when I was thinking of these guys. Or I guess you can say bees. They do have kind of like a hive mind. Right? They all communicate via telepathically. They don't speak as normal terms, right? They don't talk. They don't actually have too much brain power to boot as well. Yet, that will evolve later. They are an evolving species. They evolve pretty quick, especially the Vancers, because they're taking all the knowledge, all the power, everything that the other Vancer was into them. So they upgrade. They evolve faster than their clans, which can breed other ideas. Like, there's no good and there is no evil in the story. Everybody is pretty much a villain to each other. But the Vancer guarding their clan, of course, will be the hero, but an enemy to another. So there's no heroes or villains. There's no good, there's no bad, it's just gray. Because what's good for one is bad for another. So anyways, I got off topic and totally forgot what I was talking about. So, that's right. So, all clans are going to vary on how they run things. Primarily, the queen is going to be in charge. They're going to direct everybody. The Satches, the workers, pretty much. The Satches are the workers. The Vancers are the warriors. The queen is the queen. Now, it can not necessarily change, but the queen's will becomes harder to force upon some Vancers, right? So the Vancer may get in their head that pretty much locking the queen away is the best thing for her, or some will let them roam free. It really depends on the Vancer and how they've grown. Now, Sanchez are workers. They are smaller. So the size difference, right? Sanchez are about 4, like, if we're our heights. Sanchez are 4 foot. They're small. They're pretty weak, but they work together to achieve things. Dancers, they're about 7 feet tall. Queens are about 5. They're not too much bigger than the Satches. They are bigger by a foot, but not too much. They do vary. They're more. Now, there are no male. There are no female. There are feminine and muscular. More feminine and more muscular. So I think Vancers usually lean more towards the bigger, the bulkier, because they're just born to fight. The queens were feminine. Some of the I'll just call them workers again. I'm just gonna call them workers. So the workers, they do vary. Some are a little bit bigger. Some are a little bit more weaker looking. They do vary. Their sizes range from 4 to 4.5. 4.5. Not 4.5. So 45 feet tall. Anyways, so they vary more. They're more, I guess you could say, like the civilian type. Now, if you're wondering how they breed, the queen doesn't lay eggs or anything like that. The queen is there to direct and pretty much give order to everything. Now, a resource that clans fight for are going to be pods. They are all born from pods. When the queen dies, she will then become a pod. So raiding other clans is beneficial because the pods are a rare and few resource. They do grow naturally over time, but that takes a while. So there's never going to be no pods ever. There can be a small pod that's found that actually hasn't birthed in yet, that's still just a podling that can be taken back to their pods. Now, when the pod has birthed 1,000 workers, it will then stop birthing workers and start incubating a Vancer. It's always incubating a Vancer. So think about it like I don't know a good way to put it. as it's incubating, as it's birthing the workers, it's slowly accumulating energy for the Vancer. But once the 1,000th worker is born, it then shifts to the Vancer primarily. And then once the Vancer itself is born, the pod dies. And that pod's gone. But that takes a while. They don't pop out like candy. Not at all. It takes, give or take, I guess our time would be a month for a worker. So 1,000 months for one Vancer. But that's just one pod. There could be hundreds of pods in a colony. The colony that we will be following is going to be a root clan, which is AKEADA's. And they're underground. They're a newly formed clan with a rare born. Now, anyways, I'm getting off topic. So, clans fight over these pods. When a pod is claimed, they will bring it back to their pods. The queen does have a link to the pods because, say, you take one clan's pod and bring it back, the workers are still loyal to the other queen. Now, the pods kind of just meld together the DNA from the other one. So, say a forest clan beats a mountain clan. The mountain workers are going to be more sturdy because they're going to be mostly made out of, they're not mostly, but made out of stone, right? And the forest ones are going to be out of bark. So those two will crossbreed, and it will birth a hybrid between a stone and a forest worker. And then those will be only made from here on out. And so, say you have a hybrid worker with a forest and wood, the forest and mountains. Say they somehow manage to claim a ocean pod. They defeat an ocean clan and they bring it back. It would then become a hybrid between mountain, forest, and sea. It will have aspects of all three. It will have the benefits from all and the defects from all, right? So that's pretty much how that works. So the more pods you have, the more diverse pods you have as well, the better it's going to be. The better and better it's going to be. But when a queen dies, she then becomes a pod, like a major pod, which is counted to like 3. It's like a central node that you attach other pods to. She pretty much becomes the, I guess you could say the queens are kind of like princesses. They still rule, but once they pass, they die, whatever, they then become a real queen that does birth other things that's already imprinted to the next one in line. Now, wondering how the next princess is chosen, the very first one that's born from the newly formed queen pod will be the princess. That's always going to be the very first one born from. It's pretty much, what's the word I'm looking for? What's the rebirth? It's pretty much a rebirth. Think of it like that. And what's left behind is the pod and the will. That kind of makes sense. Yeah. So, anyways, they will look different. They will think a tad differently. They've grown. It's pretty much like rebirthing. It's not going to be the same person. The personality is going to be different. It's like the daughter or the son. It's the child of the previous queen. Now, there can be multiple queens in a clan. That just all depends on the clan itself and what they choose to do. So they can either kill the queen, that queen dies, and then becomes a primary pod, which can be taken and fused with the other one. And they will all follow that directive instead. So it's another way for evolving. It's kind of like how Vancers are. The primary, no matter what happens, if the one from the other faction takes over, or the old one takes over, whichever will is stronger, it's going to be the new directive. Pretty much. So, say a newly formed pod, a queen pod, tries to absorb a pod that's been around for thousands of years, that's absorbed other pods, and their faction was completely wiped out, and the queen or the princess became the queen pod. That clan will still pretty much live on in the new one. That pod will pretty much take over with the influence of the other one. But no one would really know. They would just have a new directive to go. It's weird to think about, I know, but that's how the queen pods would work and interact with each other. It's pretty much there for imprinting and giving them all the knowledge they would need to do their job. So, it's very unlikely that a pod would live for that long. Anyways, because again, once a certain amount of workers are born, a Vancer will be born and it kills the pod. So the queen can give birth to a total of 3 Vancers in their lifetime. And again, that's 1,000 months for one Vancer. Because every month is a worker. So that's pretty much that. Alright, so for the other life, we got bears. Well, I guess I will just put bears. Wolves. Got spiders. Got centipede. Horse. What else did we say? Oh, that's pretty much it. I didn't really come up with too much wildlife. If you guys have any ideas for me to come up with for the wildlife, please do share. Love to hear some ideas to have to transform it into a plant-ish style creature. Now, again, there is no flying. There are no flying creatures because the gravity is too immense for it to go. Immense? I don't think that's the right word. But anyways, that's pretty much it that I really wanted to talk about today. I'll have to add more as I go. I'll try adding more and more as I go. I'll keep this document ready to go. I don't have too much because I didn't really put too much thought in the life outside the humanoids. The humanoids are going to be the most dominant one there. But anyways, guys, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the story / lore this time around. It's kind of just more of the lore for now. I do plan on telling the story again, or at least trying to, probably fumbling through it like last time. Still a little nervous about telling it, but happy I started this. Hope you guys are enjoying it as much as I am. I get a little bit too excited and I start rambling and talking faster and faster and faster, and I lose my train of thought. Anyways, take care, be well, stay safe, and stay wonderful. See y'all next time.